Welcome back, GlampLanders. Today we're going to talk suspensions. Hey, welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk today about how to set up the suspension on your Polygon D7 for the first time. If you're like me, coming from hardtails, this was something I really didn't know anything about. Now, my hardtail had a front suspension, but it was coil, not air, so very little adjustment I had to do. And one of the exciting things about getting a full suspension bike was the suspension, but I was a little nervous about having the rear shock and the rebound, because one thing that I'd always heard is if you have that set up incorrectly, you can hit a pogo stick and go over your bars, and nobody wants any of that. So let's talk about a few of the very basics of your suspension. And the first is the travel, and that's going to be the distance that the wheel can move when the shock compresses. So on our Polygon D7s, we have 120 mil of travel in the front and the back, and that works out to a little over 4.5 inches, which is really good for trail riding, cross country, those kind of things. The one thing too that we need to understand is compression. So the compression is going to be the speed at which the shock is able to move through its travel. When you hit a bump, how fast that shock goes down. And that is controllable as well with our setups. The amount of sag, and this is the amount of compression that you have just by sitting on the bike. And that's how we get that dialed in with our air pressure that we'll go over here briefly. And then the rebound, which for me was the one thing that had me scared, especially on the rear shock, is how quickly that shock goes from being compressed to back to being fully open. And it is one thing that if you do have your rebound set on your rear shock, it can be kind of like a pogo stick, and it can kind of buck you as you go over. So those are kind of some of the basics we're going to talk about. I watched a lot of videos on how to do this, but most of them were advanced for people who had ridden a long time and kind of about dialing in your stuff. What I found worked best for me, and what I'm going to show you guys today, is actually going to the RockShox website, being able to put in your serial numbers for each of your shocks. It's going to give you the values of all your adjustments, how your shocks are made, and then it's actually going to tell you by your weight and what kind of bike you have, what your air pressure needs to be, and kind of your rebound and compression. So let's get started with that. All right, the first thing we're going to do is go to trailhead.rockshox.com, hit get started, and from there you're going to enter the serial number of your fork, which is right at the bottom of the head tube. You can see it on the back. You just type that in there, and then you're going to hit enter. And once you do that, RockShox is kindly going to tell you everything you need to know about your shock, what kind of dampener type, the wheel size, the travel, stanchions, spring, also your maximum tire width if you're looking to upgrade. And then you can also see at the bottom your documents upgrade kits. And you hit tuning. Here's where you just need to put in your weight. So give or take about 175 pounds. Type mountain biking. And from there, you're going to get your recommended air pressure and rebound settings. And it's as simple as that. And then we'll go to our shock and get this all taken care of. All right. And the first thing we need to do is to remove the cap on the top of the fork, and that generally will just twist off. Then from there, we're going to put on our air pump. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if you don't have one of these and you're going to have an air suspension, it's best to go ahead and order one of those so that it arrives either before or the day of that you get your bike, because without it, it's going to be real hard to get your suspension lined up. So once we get that screwed on, mine has a little clip back there that you put on, which allows you to kind of not lose air as you take it on and off. And we pump that up to the correct air pressure that we found on the website. And then we'll put the cap back on. And then with that, that's our suspension, the air pressure set up. And then you'll also see that on the other side of the shock, we have the compression setting. And all that'll do is control how quickly your shock uses its travel and the going into the down position. So you can adjust that to go slower, faster, and with RockShox, that's going to be designated by the blue twist. And then the one important thing I was talking about earlier is we have the rebound rear shock for how quickly it comes back from being compressed. And you'll find that on the bottom of the shock, and that is actually just a key. So you'll twist that to the recommendation that they gave you on the website, and then you can actually pull that out and keep it if you like. So now we're going to go back to the website. We're going to put in the serial number for the rear shock, and it's going to give you all the same information that you had for the front shock, which again, if you ever had to upgrade, do maintenance, it's just a really great tool to be able to have at your disposal to see what you need. I can even tell you how many rebound clicks you have as adjustment. And again, we're going to throw our weight in there, so looking to be around 175. So we'll throw that in, and then we're going to hit the type of bike that we have. Oh, I forgot about sag, so we're going to put about 25% as our preferred sag and how much travel, and then mountain bike, and again, you'll get your parameters. And what we'll do now is move to the rear shock, which is much like the front shock. You're just going to remove the cap, and then we will screw on our pump in order to get the correct pressure in there. And again, with this pump, it actually has a micro bleed, so in case you accidentally over pump it, you can release air very controlled, and then that little click lever allows you to put it on and take it off without losing any air, which is a really nice thing to have if you're trying to dial that in as closely as possible. So we're going to get that pumped up. It gets kind of hard when you have to get up into those upper ranges. And we'll take the pump back off. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to screw it on and off. Put the cap back on, and then just like the front shock, then we have the compression, which is in blue, and then the rebound, which is in red, and then we can adjust that. And at that point, once you're matched up to what the website said, you should be have a good base setting to get out and get on the trail. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful and or interesting. Here in Southwest Virginia, it finally looks like springtime has arrived, so looks like we'll actually get to get out on the trails instead of doing more of these shop videos here in my garage. I'm really excited about that. I'm headed back to Pulaski for the bike park, and then really one of Southwest Virginia's secret trails, Draper's Mountain, is coming up soon. So if you like the video and like the channel, please like and subscribe. And remember, adventure without definition.